Hey guys, before we get started, we just want to say thank you to Nanlite for sending us the LumiPad 11 LED panel for review. As usual, we're not paid to say anything besides our own opinions, and Nanlite does not get to see this video before it is published. Let's get straight to the point. The LumiPad 11 is a very light and thin light, like very light and thin. It feels like it is about the same weight as my phone, and same with the thickness. This is great if you are carrying a lot of gear, and the LumiPad 11 will not add much to it. The entire light panel is made of plastic, and that's why it is so light. It is definitely not the most rugged light panel we have used, but it should last pretty well as long as you don't throw it around. The main thing you have to be careful of is the cold shoe mount. They are also made of plastic, so don't be too rough on it. Keeping everything plastic is not a bad thing, to be honest, especially when you're trying to keep the price under $50. The LumiPad 11 is definitely one of the cheapest LED panels we have used that is super bright as well. Before we test the brightness and color accuracy, let's finish talking about the design first. The front panel of the LumiPad 11 has a frosted layer, which is always welcome because the light will be softer than using a clear layer. Also, there is a very unique design that I have never seen on other LED panels before, and that is the edge lit design. When you turn on the LumiPad 11, it will probably look kind of weird because you don't see any LED bulbs behind the front layer, and that is because all the LED bulbs are located around the edges of the light panel to light up the front. This design eliminates a lot of issues of a LED panel, and the first thing is the shadow casting. When you're using LED panels with LEDs directly on the panel, because they're individual bulbs shining towards the front, they will cast all kinds of shadow when the light paths cross. And that's why it can look pretty awkward lighting something with those panels. With the edge lit design, the light coming out of the LumiPad 11 is very even, and this is great when you are using the panel to light, let's say, products, or use it as an edge light at the back. It doesn't look weird at all even if it's shining directly at the camera. I think all LED light panels should try to have this design. When you look at the panel at an angle, you will be able to locate the LED bulbs on the edges, but they are not obvious at all, so I'm not too worried about light spills. When you look at the back of the LumiPad 11, you have a power button and two dials to control the light with. The top dial allows you to set the color temperature between 3200 Kelvin and 5600 Kelvin, which is the most commonly used range usually, but I wish they can go a little wider just in case if I need to match other lights on set. The bottom dial allows you to set the brightness of the light from 1% to 100%. I really like that you can set the brightness to as low as 1% because a lot of lights can only go down to 5 or 10%. On the right side, you have a very small LCD display to show you the status of the light in terms of brightness and color temperature when you set them. You also have a button to check the battery level of the NPF battery that you can use to power the LumiPad 11. Yes, you have the option to power the LumiPad 11 either by AC power or NPF batteries. NPF batteries are definitely one of the most commonly used batteries on set, so that's not a problem. The only thing I'm not too sure is why they did not include the power adapter for AC power. I guess that's also related to cost cutting. Another thing I'm confused with is the ADD-R button besides the battery button. It says it is for adjusting lighting code in the menu, but I tried to find out what that means and I got nothing. So if you know what that means, let us know in the comment section below. Those are the main features of the LumiPad 11 LED panel. It is time for us to talk about the brightness of the light. It is pretty bright. At around 300 lux, it is definitely not the brightest, but it should be good enough as a fill light or an edge light. You can use it as a key light if you can bounce the light off of a bigger surface because although the light is very soft coming out of the LumiPad 11, the size of the panel is still too small to be used as a key light source. It would just be too harsh. So bounce the light off of a bigger surface is like a must. Talking about the size of the light, this actually got me super confused. The light panel is called LumiPad 11, and I thought it is an 11-inch light panel. But when I got the light, I was like, there's no way that this is 11-inch. Then I found out that they meant by adding the height and the width of the panel to get 11-inch. And I was like, this is not how dimension works. So nope, it is not an 11-inch panel, it is just around 7-inch. Okay, in this part of the video, we will be testing the light accuracy of the LumiPad 11 by setting both the light and the camera at 5600 Kelvin. And we'll be using the X-ray color checker for video to find out how accurate the color of the light is. If you don't mind about color accuracy, you can use the timestamps in the description below to jump to other parts of this video. Alright, let's take a look and see how color accurate the LumiPad 11 LED panel is. So I have the light set to 5600 Kelvin, same thing with the camera, which is an X-T4, and it is also set at 5600 Kelvin as the color temperature, so it should be pretty balanced with the light. This is the X-ray video color checker that I have, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to isolate some of the palettes and show you guys if it's accurate on the chart on the left. The first thing I'm going to isolate is this white strip right here to see if it's accurate in terms of white balance. So by looking at the chart on the left, it is actually pretty accurate. It is a little bit towards the blue side, as you can see on the RGB parade, and a little bit on the red side as well. So that's why on the vector scope, it is a little bit toward the magenta side. But this is pretty spot on already, so that is really nice. The next palette I'm going to isolate is this part right here to show you guys if any of the colors it's a little bit off the chart or not. So I have this strip of palette isolated, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly boost up the saturation. So take a look at the vector scope on your left. We can see that the red, it's pretty on point. Magenta, it's a little bit off to the blue, and blue, it's a little bit off. Cyan is just by a little bit. Green, it's really spot on. Yellow is really spot on. It is really rare to see a LED light panel to have accurate color in terms of cyan and green. So the LumiPad 11 is actually really good. You don't really have to tweak that much. Maybe by adjusting the white balance a little bit, shifting the center point towards yellow and green to balance the magenta that we saw earlier, then the cyan will be fine. So I don't think there's much that we need to correct. Now let's take a look at the skin tone. I'm just gonna keep the saturation up so you guys can see a little bit better. So this is the skin tone palette, and I have a skin tone line on my vector scope showing up. So I'm just going to isolate that. And as I said before, the magenta, the light, it's a little bit towards the magenta side. So it is pretty good already. As long as we move that magenta a little bit towards the green, then it should balance out everything, which is really nice. So it is really, really accurate. What I'm going to try to do right now is to see if I can shift the tint towards the green side a little bit. Maybe something like this, like a -4 in Final Cut Pro. And if I turn off the boost to saturation and remove the mask, yeah, it looks really good to me. In terms of white balance, it is now spot on because of the -4 on the green tint. So this is all you need to do. Everything else should be good, including the color palette right here. After moving the center point a little bit towards the left, everything is almost spot on except cyan, it's off a little bit still. Blue, it's off, so you probably need to adjust that. But other than that, everything looks really good. I am really surprised that this light is so accurate in terms of color. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Those are my thoughts on the LumiPad 11 LED panel from Nanlite. I think the biggest selling point of this LED panel is the lightweight and the edge lit design that makes the light a lot easier to use compared to other LED panels. We are definitely interested in reviewing more products from Nanlite because of their innovative designs. Let us know what you think in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.